Hello friends, welcome to the session. In this session, we are discussing about causes of depletion of resources. The resources present in our environment, it is getting depleted at the faster rate as they are being produced. This happens why? Because the resources are being overused by the human beings. There are many factors that led to the depletion of a resource. Some of them are as there is an increase in human population and as well as industrial advancement, natural resources are being overused and overexploited. Due to this overuse, it disturbs the environment in many ways, like there is a shortage of land, shortage of water, forest, etc. For example, forest is being destroyed. Why? Because there is a need for land for the purpose of agriculture, housing, construction of roads and railway tracks, etc. And this led to the extinction of many species of plants and animal varieties. Water is also one of the natural resources. As the human population is growing, water is being used at a larger quantity for the purpose of drinking water, irrigation, etc. Land is an important resource. But as there is a population growth, the demand for the land is growing. In order to produce food, fiber and fuel has also been increased. Hence, the pressure is limited on the land resource that they are getting degraded due to over exploitation. Soil is one of the resource that is formed after many years. That means formation of the soil is very slow and due to some overuse, the soil has also been degraded. Soil erosion, pollution, water logging, etc. It has become the major common problems. Fossil fuels like coal, oil, natural gas, it takes millions of years to form. But fossil fuels are also being used at the higher rate. And this situation has caused a higher demand rate and the supply rate has been decreased. Non-equitable distribution of resources. We know that natural resources, they are not found in an uniform order. At one place they may be excess, at the one place they may be scarcely available, and in many places resources may not be available at all. For example, consider the coal reserve that is present in Jharkhand and Orissa, but it is not known in Punjab and Haryana. Similarly, there is an acute shortage of water in Rajasthan. Petroleum is present abundantly in the Middle East. Due to this non-equitable distribution, uh, many problems arise. For example, the Kaveri water disputes between the states of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Technological and industrial development. As there is an expansion in technology and development in the industrial revolution, there is a need for various resources like coal, minerals, etc. The mining activities has also increased, but the result is it is getting depleted at the faster rate, and hence we can say that the quantity of the metals which is used in the 20th century, it exceeds the quantity which are consumed during the entire history of the mankind. Similarly, there is a lot of technological development as well as industrial revolution which led to increase in the demand for energy. Fossil fuels like coal, oil and natural gas, it is consumed by the humans at a very fast rate, and this unplanned technology, it affects other resources also. So let's consider an example of an Aswan dam which is constructed on the bank of River Nile in Egypt. So while its construction, it was assumed that this dam will prevent from annual flooding, it provides water for irrigation and it would generate electricity. But this was a reverse case. So let's discuss some of the effects. There was a loss in soil fertility. Due to the absence of floods, as silt was carried to the fields. Fertilizers factory had to be set up to replenish the soil with fertilizers, and these factories, it consumed a lot of hydroelectricity. The canals were dug for irrigation and so much of salt in them that desalinated the soil and the fertility of the soil was lost. The nutrients in the river also increased and the fishes decreased. So all this were some of the causes that caused due to unplanned technological growth. Overpopulation. We know that the human population is increasing at a very faster rate. And due to this, there is a depletion in the resource like land, water, fossil fuels, mineral, soil, etc. All these things are limited. And due to some overuse of the resources are getting exhausted at a very faster rate. We can notice that many renewable resources like forest and grasslands are under pressure. For example, let's consider a large population. So wherever the population is more, there the cultivation and irrigation should take place in a more abundant way in order to give food facilities for that large population. And construction of dams should be taken place to preserve and conserve water. To increase the crop yields, fertilizers and pesticides are being used. So as these chemicals are being used in a larger quantity, it causes pollution to the air, water and soil of that particular environment. As the population grows, there is an increasing demand for food, water, clothing and shelter. Man has exploited the natural resource to a very great extent and it caused the ecological imbalance in nature. The effects of this ecological imbalance in nature, it led to large-scale consumption of fossil fuels, large-scale mining of ores, pollution of air, water and soil, depletion of the ozone layer, concentration of harmful chemicals in the bodies of living organisms. Deforestation, construction of dams. Almost these activities of the human society, it degraded, it destroyed the environment physically, chemically, biologically and ethically. Let's discuss about some of the effects caused due to human activities. Chemical fertilizers and pesticides. The more the use of chemical fertilizers, they pollute and contaminate their soil with their impurities. When the fertilizers are contaminated, the water in the soil also gets polluted, and this affects the growth of the plants as well as the soil. After using these chemical fertilizers, if suddenly there is a heavy rainfall, the excess water from the fields flow out to the water bodies, and which causes adverse effect on the water bodies because the chemical fertilizers are washed out along with the water. So it causes health hazards to the aquatic animals present in the water as well as or those who even consume that water. So it is said that if phosphate and nitrate concentration it exceeds 1 part and 30 parts per 100 million parts of water, and it results in eutrophication, which reduces the growth of aquatic ecosystem. Mining. Mining is the process where the land is dug up to obtain the mineral resource. Mining activities, it extracts mineral resource, it affects the local landscape. So as the ground is dug at very deeper and deeper, it affects the moisture content of the soil and that leads to desertification. For example, in Goa, where manganese is found abundantly, it is just at the ground surface or a few meters below it. There, the surface of the soil is stripped off and the mineral is being exploited continuously, which leaves back a desert-like landscape. Industrialization. Industry, it is an enterprise that manufactures the goods with the help of resource and in turn provides services to human beings. Industrialization, it led to the migration of people to industrial areas and that leads to unplanned residential areas like slums. Due to this industrialization, many people from rural areas they migrate to urban areas Industries, it uses land for factories, roads, open places, and housing. Besides, it also uses natural resources like coal, petroleum, water as a raw material, and which in turn produces goods out of it. And due to that, exploitation of the raw materials is at the heavy rate. Industries, they also generate waste and they pollute their surrounding areas. And this has an irreversible impact on human health and environment. Energy generation. When conventional sources of energy are exploited beyond a certain rate, they get exhausted, like coal, petroleum, and natural gas. Factories are run using vehicles and machines, and they use conventional source of energy. At present, the rate of consumption, the supply of the coal is expected to last for about 100 years. The petroleum and the natural gas also gets exhausted very soon. The big dams, which are meant to generate electricity, will not be environmentally viable. In the near future, the dams submerge the agricultural land, it displaces people, and it do not allow water in large area to reach the underground water table. And the only solution to resolve this problem is to stop depleting the energy resource and to use a renewable sources of energy. Automobiles. Automobiles run with the help of petroleum and which is also being depleted due to its overexploitation. As there is increase in the number of vehicles in urban areas, there is a usage of petroleum more and more. Vehicles need a medium to travel, and that medium is in the form of roads. Unless we use renewable sources of energy to run our vehicles, the energy crisis gets increased in the near future. Urbanization. Urbanization means it is undue growth of population in urban areas. So, according to the UN report, 3% of the world's population lived in urban areas in 1800 and which dramatically increased in the year 2000. That is about 47% of the world's population lived in urban areas. People migrate from the towns and villages to the urban areas for a better employment opportunities and to change their lifestyle. Urbanization creates environmental problems, social problems as well as economic problems. And one of the major problem is defacement of the land. Let's discuss some of the major problems associated with the urbanization. There is a demand for food, demand for land, exploitation of the ground and surface water resource, overcrowding in the cities. There is an increased rate of crime, pressure on services, generation of waste, air pollution due to usage of vehicles, pressure on the habitats of wild and domesticated animals. Deforestation. Deforestation is nothing but cutting down the forest areas. So it has been estimated that about 90 acres of the forest land is deforested every day. Why this deforestation is done? Why? Because there is a shortage of land. As the population rate is growing, there is an availability of land for the purpose of cultivation, building dams, houses, for the purpose of mining mineral resource, etc. Forest, it threatened the factors as increased firewood collection, heavy livestock grazing, as well as industrialization and urbanization. On the other hand, afforestation rate is very less and the rate of destruction of the forest is more. Forests are the world's ecosystem and they are the reservoirs of the biodiversity. Deterioration of hydrological resources. Fresh waters are available in the form of ice, glaciers and snow peaks, groundwater and surface water. Because of the global warming and due to the increase in carbon dioxide emissions from vehicles, the snow peaks are melting at the faster rate and it affects the storage of water system and it causes flooding to low-lying areas. This global warming, it melts the ice, glaciers and the mountains, and that water is overflowed. Only few percent of the fresh water is being consumed and the others are flown directly into the seas and oceans. The available underground water is also withdrawn from the aquifers faster than the natural resources recharge and can replace themselves. For the session, thank you.